how loud is the game versus me? Let me know if I need to turn it down at all. I did not test this before going live, which I probably should have. But hi, it's my streamiversary, so I decided for at least a little while today, I'm going to play some random games that I got when I bought backed the bundle for Ukraine 2 years ago. And these are a lot of games that I did not have access to on my MacBook, and now I have Windows, so I can actually play them. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. And yeah, that's my thing. So, Sunlight is a super chill game from what I've been reading about it. It takes about 30 minutes to play, and you're basically walking around in a forest picking up flowers, which just sounds precious to me. And the trees are all talking to you and things like that. So, it looks really fun, and that's why I decided I wanted to play this one first. So, I already changed some of the settings. I'll show you. So, I added subtitles and the controls. Yeah, here. So I have a mouse, so I'm going to be walking around, picking up and placing flowers and looking around. So let's get started. And I've linked to the game on itch in the chat. I'm going to listen for a bit.
Welcome. Are you sitting comfortably? Are you focused and not thinking about whatever's bothering you these days? I'm not here to test you. Please relax. Let your thoughts come and go and listen as they fade away in the distance. For better or for worse, this is where your life has brought you. Looking at a screen, listening to me. Imagine, for a moment, that you've just had a child. It's healthy, but unfortunately also completely blind. For their whole life, they will live in the dark and not see a thing.
Huh.
Their perception of
agree.
reality is something that you might never be able to comprehend. How would you describe the world to them? What can't be touched or heard, smelled or tasted? How would you describe sunlight? By what it does? Or how it feels on their skin? I think I'd play them this piece of music. First composed by Tchaikovsky in 1878, these rays of light have traveled through decade after decade, finally reaching your ears this very moment.
Fascinating.
You have also traveled far to get here today, but you're only passing through and should probably get going.
Okay, so apparently I'm not going to be able to type in the chat during this whole time. Just FYI.
While you're here, I'd like to tell you a story. It all happened to me when I was young, walking in the forest,
much like you are. Those were days filled with boundaries and rules, of no running in the hallways, don't do this or that or the other. With my world full of fierce discipline, I walked the forest to breathe.
One day, deep in the woods, I found a funny-looking tree, crooked, old, and wrinkly.
With little work, a few bits of bark became huge ships. Calm creeks turned to ferocious oceans. I can still recall the people I imagined dragged downstream with a sense of guilt. As I gazed back upon the old tree, I noticed something
peculiar. It was crying.
So
Every
fascinated by
crumple,
this.
like eyes closed tightly.
clear drops streaming silently down its wrinkly skin. So I did as children do.
Tasted it. Not because it looked tasty, but to figure out
what it was. The first drop made my tongue tingle. The second made it prickle.
And the very moment the third landed on my tongue, a profound sensation spread through my chest. Undefinable,
Like thirst.
both vague and specific. One thing was clear. Something
Was changing within me.
I remember breathing in and out, feeding
The fire.
Oh, look at the fireflies. Have I reached the bounds? Is that what this is? Or, oh, is this the first flower that I'm supposed to pick up?
The following day, I woke to a slight prickle in my fingertips. I studied them closely, discovering
Circular ridges in the foreign landscapes of my skin. The prickling soon slipped my attention.
It would be another week until it returned. A wave of gentle needles
moving over my skin. A limb falling asleep, perhaps.
I did not start worrying until it returned the third time. First
making its way up my neck, before engulfing my skull completely from behind. Could even feel the tiny needles covering
my eyeballs.
So cool.
But it did not stop there. I held my breath as the
small thorns crawled around my lips, or spreading into my lungs and stomach. My awareness spread with it, and I
remember the strangest sensation of my mushy dinner in there, as if I held its remains
in the palm of my hand.
There's another flower.
Suddenly, my body took control and opened my mouth.
an explosion of air rushing into my lungs.
The tingling spread with it through an endless web of veins.
soon reaching my beating heart.
For a moment, I stood in awe of the activity.
Within my body,
I felt my heart beating faster and my skin sweating.
your body is your only vessel in this world.
And when it misbehaves, the claustrophobia is total.
Seek help, I thought. And at that very moment, the tinkling
Shot my brain down through my spine. I felt them scatter through my upper leg, where muscles contracted to lift my knee.
My body weight shifted forward, and a shockwave spread from the foot sole.
As it landed softly on the ground. The process repeated itself in greater detail for every step.
I was overwhelmed, but my body kept moving.
I did not at all.
Feel like the boss, giving directions.
It all happens
Automatically, and I
simply along for the ride.
Like you.
So fascinated by the combination of the singers, the artwork, and just walking through the woods. And what's really interesting to me is that every time they say something about breathing in or out, I find myself breathing in or out. Totally not intentional, but I'm doing it. I don't know, are you guys doing that too?
The
I have
doctor's
3
office
flowers.
was cold and white. Crossing the floor felt like a polar expedition. My parents' distant features of the landscape. I wanted to explain, but was unable. My lips and tongue engaged in an
Intricate choreography. Myself in the audience observing the words performed. My lips muttered, "I'm sure it will pass,"
while my thoughts were crying for help.
Oh, there's multiple flowers. Oh, you get to choose. I guess.
The conversation kept going, but I stopped paying attention. Instead, I was following the hands of a clock mounted on the doctor's wall. They were both speeding up and slowing down.
I was slipping further and further away,
a levitating camera in a video game,
merging with the code it was running on.
Again with the binary, with the electronic circuit and so on. I closed my eyes
and let my sensations lead me.
First, I spent some time with my bones. Among their many functions, I got lost in their continuous breathing.
An uninterrupted flow of calcium absorbed
and released.
Even my skeleton was alive and living, in and of itself.
I could feel my mind clinging
to the known, to the clattering of thoughts,
the buzzing of memories and fear of the future. But for each breath,
tension was released and my shoulders sunk
comfortably.
See, they're naturally getting
It
used
had
to
suddenly
sounds.
felt like I was
In there, somewhere behind my face.
but I was nowhere to be found. And the more I looked,
the more hazy
I became.
So cool. Yeah, and what I really love is how, there we go, is how the trees, as you get closer and further away from them, they have different voices. And, you know, there are repeats and things like that, but it feels like there's a good, I don't know, 15, 20 voices happening? Something like that. And I really love that. The only thing I'm not truly keen on is the different, like, colors of these flowers here. They feel very discordant compared to the rest of the artwork.
When my eyelids eventually opened, they felt as slow as a sunrise.
photons converted to
neurosignals shooting along the optic nerve, each carrying a piece of information into the darkness. The brain categorized motion, colors, edges, distance.
I sat for a moment in the dusk,
watching the sunrise.
When the flowers are glistening like
eventually
gems.
lit up.
I was no longer wondering why matter lights up from the inside.
My experience had changed
From the fire to the light it emits.
it would get much
stranger still.
I do appreciate also this forced pace, because it's not like you can rush over to the flower or anything like that. Like, it's forcing you to take your time with things. This is a pretty flower. Hello, pretty flower. Mine.
As the moment stretched, I started daydreaming. Or so I thought. It began as a shimmering field, creeping slowly in
from the periphery of my vision.
The hands of the clock, still moving, but among them vague shapes.
Starting to hear a child.
Slowly but surely, I saw trees flow past me, and among them, myself, sitting right there in the doctor's office,
with a vacant expression. While walking around myself,
I was surprised to still see the clock straight ahead. Myself
From the side, the clock on the wall. The two images were not overlapping.
they just
Exist. Like imagining a familiar place with your eyes closed and you see both nothing and something.
at the same time.
And the child's voice is
towards
continuous.
myself.
But
Not like the rest.
face of the doctor lingering somewhere between confusion.
concern,
And annoyance. However, when I studied his face closer,
I was struck by terror.
Huh.
the image of myself
Had turned to look straight
into my own eyes.
Oh.
I felt my own hand reach out towards myself.
The weight of my hand landing softly on my own shoulder. Eyes distant, looking at the doctor.
Doctor, looking at myself. Rules and boundaries disappearing.
Go to the right. I'm assuming, yep. Yeah, they're evenly spaced all throughout. I wouldn't necessarily call this a game, but it's a really cool meditative thing. I'm enjoying this. Ooh, pretty blue flower.
The fire was spreading. A delicate wave of nostalgia washing over me. Intimate recollections of
past sorrows, relationships, education, and even medical experience.
And at last,
I was no longer alone.
Not in the sense that the doctor was there in the room, rather that we were together in the darkness of my mind.
A vast number of sensations were still flowing,
But now, with two observers to share the burden.
It's actually hurting my hand.
Out of sight, a hand picked me up. And as I kept breathing, the fire kept spreading. Soon,
it swallowed my parents sitting in the chairs, doubting my story.
I felt
contradicting opinions and ideas coexist, but not in conflict.
different notes in harmonious chords.
shaping a balanced,
invisible whole.
more clouds spread into my vision.
And more sensations through my body. The music was evolving.
I looked at my hand.
5 fingers against the surface felt no different than 5
bodies or minds. Branches becoming aware
that they were connected to the same trunk all along. Their experience my own, all of them present in my mind.
I switched hands for the moving forward key for a little while. Yeah, this is very meditative, and I was saying, I don't know if you could hear it before, because I was talking over them a little bit, but it's interesting to me that the child's voice, which is, I think, new, is continuous. It doesn't matter where you're walking, because the others, you're going around passing by each of the trees, and the voices change as you pass by the trees. But that's not the case for the child's voice. Anyway, that was my interesting comment.
The prickling kept spreading. Each needle on my skin, another presence in my mind. More and more observers sharing the burden. A vast number of sensations flowing. My world, like musical sunlight, just passing through. Every individual going about their business. Strangers on the street unaware that they were all each other, their surroundings, and me. I knew and felt them all as I knew and felt myself. And I could no longer feel contempt.
Or that anyone was somehow less deserving. There was no longer me and you,
No us versus them.
It was all just me.
We're nearing the end of this now. I have a nice little bouquet going on here. I like it. Like I said, the colors clash a little bit with the rest of the colors, but it's not the end of the world. The only thing I really don't like about this is how much the flowers glitch. It's a shame.
As I kept breathing in
And out. Each new breath pushed me along.
A ubiquitous landscape that was simply
too beautiful to ignore.
Agreed.
What lay past each tree and
Beyond every hill was another idea
I knew to be true.
Mountains.
transient shadows of matter flowing through time.
Slowly from one point of view. But for the mountain itself, oh boy, it's in a hurry, like everyone else. Both the whirlpool and the stream. An expression of energy floating through empty space. All experiences merging to one. There I was, all of us, you, me, I. The light that shines through the film. All else is smoke and mirrors.
That's a prettier flower. I'm going for that one. Sorry, buds.
As with all stories, this one also is. Not because the story has an ending, but because it keeps moving.
Leaving us behind. My body kept living like yours will.
The surface is preserving its illusion of separateness.
This screen, our very own eyes.
I couldn't tell if I ascended or dissolved. I'm soaring through space, but unable to move, nevertheless. And as I turn in orbit, the boundary between light and dark keeps moving. A cascading wave of thoughts, arriving at dawn, just to slip away at dusk.
Interesting. Like, overall, it's a very simple design and all of that. Like, the physics of the wind blowing and things of that nature would be an interesting challenge. But overall, it's just continuous. I find it interesting.
A violent competition on a speck of dust suspended in nothing. An energy field fumbling in the dark, trying to describe myself. I want to be safe. Well fed, not too warm, not too cold. To be acknowledged by my closest. So even though you are another part of me looking back, you will always be a stranger.
That's
a lump
fine.
of resources for my exploitation. The branches cut. Our hemispheres separated once again. Rocks skipping along the surface, never sinking in. The inconsistent dash of beauty between the noise, picked up by a stranger with good intentions, and with it, sentenced to die. I don't care who you are, or how you found me, but we are both reaching in, a few lonely rays, venturing through space, in just the right direction. Absorbed in our leaves, stored as sweet sugars, and exhaled as crisp and clean oxygen. And while the light warms our skin, or while we wait for the next sunrise, we breathe in and out.
That's really cool. I like that.
All that matters is that you are here, right now. And for a moment, we are together. You and me, as one, like we always are, and we always will be.
Fascinating. Do I continue moving forward? Apparently I do. This is a different vibe from before. Do the trees end? I feel like they might. Just leaves on the wind. Watch how I soar. Oh, I'm leaving the woods. Oh, because then you set down the flowers. Oh, and look at all of the bundles all around. Oh, that's interesting. Are these all gravestones? Or tree. Oh, they're the cut down trees. Warmth turned cold. We are here. We can believe. Oh, wow. Okay, they're all saying different things. Oh, and you get to write something. So the environment in this game was hand painted in VR. Oh, that's so cool. We're all leaves on the wind. That is kind of depressing, but also fascinating. And the forest is gone. You can believe you're special if we're all the same. Wow. Just like these flowers. Live and drink, live. I like that one. Space to return. Okay, that was a delightfully fascinating, meditative moment. You know, I enjoyed that. That wasn't necessarily what I was expecting of a game, but hey, you never know what you're going to get when you're getting bundles from itch. And this was very, very interesting. It had tons of really good ratings. I'm glad that we did that. It was very strange, but I'm glad that we did it. So I'm just checking to make sure. Okay. Okay. Well, that was fun. Let me see. So as a reminder, that was this game right here that we just did. It was very interesting. Like, I'm looking at the rankings here because it has multiple rankings listed on its page. A magical meditative experience, definitely that. Among the best in its genre. I'm curious what the genre is. This would have been Bob Ross's. This would have been Bob Ross's wet dream. I'm pretty sure that that's not a review that you should include. Sure. As the forest breathe, I breathe. That is a mistake. I breathe with it and become part of the landscape. A short but profound experience. Indeed it was. So, that was fun.